All right, chat. Listen up. Listen up, yous guys. I'm gonna be reviewing and talking about New York City slang. I don't actually talk like this, but I am a New Yorker my whole life, and I found here, thanks to a chat member, we've got 90 iconic New York City slang words. This is on WikiHow. And it's just collecting, like, slang. So I'm gonna let you know stuff I've heard of, stuff that I feel is maybe inaccurate, and we'll talk about them. We'll talk about them. Okay, so use. Yeah, that one's real. That one's real. I don't know if it's exclusively New York, but it is very New York. Use guys, 100%. That is a very New York thing. You's ever heard of the Brooklyn Zoo? No, not the actual zoo. The Wu-Tang Clan song. It's just an evolution of you with a fun accent. All right, so that's like a 10 out of 10. Deadass. Is that a New York one? Deadass? This iconic phrase means I'm serious or I'm not kidding. It's a modern update of for real. A deadass love you be. This phrase dates back to the early 90s. Comes from hip-hop. That's a New York thing? Why is that number 2 on this list? Deadass, I don't know where this came from, but I will say I've heard it a lot more over the past 15 years, and I don't think it's exclusively New York, so I'm gonna say it is, I'm gonna give it like a 6 out of 10, because I don't think it's New York, but I like it. It's fun to say. Pie. This is a whole New York-style pizza. Yes, a pie. Yes. We do. Like, oh, pick me up a white clam pie, or pick me up a pepperoni pie. That's a 9 out of 10. Best pie in the city is on Carmine Street. Joe's can't be beat. I don't agree with that. I do recommend Joe's. I shouted it out in Garbage Land. I like it. I don't think it's a 10 out of 10 pizza. I think it's a good pizza. So that therefore pie as a term gets a 9 out of 10 from me. Forget about it. Okay, this is so New York, even though I think it's a little bit of a put-on. I think it's like, this is for fun. There's a forget about it sign on the way out of Brooklyn. I'm not kidding. It's up on the street. Like on the expressway. I'll show you. I think I can find it. Leaving Brooklyn. Forget about it. It's on the BQE. So yeah, I mean, this is for fun, but it is very New York. It's a 9 out of 10. I like it a lot. High memeability. Yeah, I mean, it's like, this is, look, my Uncle Tone, I was going to say Sopranos. My Uncle Tone is so old school, he unironically still says, forget about it. This is called an I dialect. It's when you combine words to look the way they sound, when a speaker of a specific dialect uses them. Huh. Can you put these into a tier list? I don't think I can. That would take a lot of extra work for a very ramshackle segment. What about I got hurt in Jersey.com? Okay. Anyone from New Jersey see the I got hurt in New Jersey signs? Yes? Oh, okay, here. I got hurt in NJ. Or, yeah, here it is. Here it is. So there's tons of these billboards. And it's just a law firm. Shmear. Shmear of cream cheese. Let me get a bagel with some Shmear. It's first used in Germany. It meant to lubricate a machine with oil or grease. Germans immigrated to New York City in the early 90s. They used the word to describe how bagel eaters would cover their bagels with cream cheese. Alright, I thought it was Yiddish. But, I mean, hey, chat, yes, chat is saying one thing, this webpage is saying another thing. I don't know the answer, but yeah, I've heard Shmear. I thought it was based on the word smear. Jewish German origin? Well, forget about it. Whatever. Alright, so Shmear is a pretty classic one. I don't hear it that much, but I hear it once in a while. I'll give it like a 7.5 out of 10. Because it is something I don't think I hear outside of New York, but I wouldn't know. I don't fucking travel. I like it. Stoop front porch, including the steps leading up to it. They don't have yards, so you might kick it on the stoop. It's finally nice out. Grab some beers out of the fridge and let's go hit the stoop. That's not a New York thing, really, is it? That's just like a thing. Just like a stoop. You've heard stoop, right, chat? Sure, New Yorkers have stoops. Sure, Hey Arnold had stoops. No? People hadn't heard of the stoop? Only from Hey Arnold, huh? I thought stoop was just the term of the steps leading up to a building, so I'm not sure that's a New York thing exclusively. It might be more of a New York thing. Snoop Dogg. Stoop? So yeah, I'm gonna give this, I don't know, a 5 out of 10, because again, it's yeah, it means that, but I didn't think this was a New York, I think it's just a word that everyone used. Maybe I'm wrong. Whatever. Dumb means very. Notably, people use mad the same way. I would hire Jim as my real estate agent, but he's dumb young. I don't know if he has the experience I need. I've never heard this. And what do you mean this is New York? And also, this is dumb. 2 out of 10. Never heard it. Grill. To grill means stare at someone in a judgy or angry way and ask them a lot of intense investigatory questions. I was in the 7 and this old head was grilling me the whole way home. Never heard old head, but not like that. Not just colloquially like that, but I've heard grill. Like, oh shit, they're grilling. They're grilling me. Yeah, it's not a New York thing. What the fuck is this list? So weird. Well, okay, all right. So listen. Yes, grill is a word that is real, like the Luigi stare, like he was grilling us. But I don't know if it's a New York thing. So I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10 because it is a good and useful. I like it, but also, and I've heard it a lot, but also New York only. Come on. B just means bro, friend, or dude. Catch-all term to address someone in a friendly, informal way. How's it going, B? Probably just natural shorthand of bro, but we're not entirely sure. Okay, now I have to start. Here's how we're gonna do this, chat. I'm gonna let you know if these feel like New York originated terms. And this most certainly does not. I don't hear a lot of people use it, but I've heard it. 5.5 out of 10. The Hispanic guy from Half Baked said it all the time. Sure enough. Tim's. This is a New York City thing too? Where'd you cop those Tims? Oh, come on. Vinny, also you're white. Wait, what? Holy shit. I just turned the lights on. You're not wrong. Yeah, okay, so Tim's, I thought this was, everyone used this one. Don't know if it originated in New York. I'm gonna stop reviewing things now because I don't know how to review them. So, yeah, it's Timberland. It's the boots, right. One is sort of like goodbye, dear friend, or peace out. It's a sign-off used to express love. Probably comes from One Love. Okay, from my personal experience, I have not heard this. I've heard One Love. I've heard the Metallica song One. I've heard the U2 song One. I've never heard someone say see you later One. I am a white dude from Staten Island though. So, as I've learned just tonight. Brolic. A brolic refers to someone who is extremely ripped and muscular. Notably, New Yorkers will occasionally use Brolic to refer to anything that's buff or overloaded. A stout pit bull or a hot dog loaded up with too much sauerkraut might be called a Brolic, for example. What? Oh god, every Brolic in Brooklyn's gonna be after me if I wear a New York Giants jersey on the train. It is unknown, but it might come from Dragon Ball Z character Broly. For reasons that might be obvious if you take a gander at the guy. I know who Broly is. I don't know a lot of... Yeah. Okay. This is the most professional article of all time. Never heard Brolic. Saying it's a New York thing is very, very funny to me because I've never heard that, but also really Broly from Dragon Ball Z. Broly is famously from New York. Okay. Someone said I've heard it in rap songs. Okay. So that I've seen that comment in chat like 3 or 4 times. But what are these New York rap songs? Regular coffee. Okay. This is a standard drip coffee with milk and 2 sugars. If a New Yorker wants to order a coffee without cream or sugar, they always specify black coffee or plain coffee. I don't like the regular coffee. I prefer black at this bodega. If I ask for a regular coffee, they're not going to give me milk and 2 sugars. I promise you that. What they're going to do is they're going to give me drip coffee, and then I will have to put the rest of the stuff in or specify specifically. So, okay, fair enough. I guess that's maybe a thing. But I don't think people overall in a New York bodega or deli are going to say, regular coffee, got it, milk and 2 sugars. But yes, I sometimes I just say coffee, and then they say drip coffee or Americano. So, I'll try it. I'll let you know how it goes. Jakes. The Jakes are the police. The lady upstairs threatened to call the Jakes. She doesn't know this is Bed-Stuy. They don't come out for noise complaints. Never heard this one. We cannot confirm with 100% accuracy, but it's a fun story, so we're going to share it anyway. Apparently, when fire alarms were first invented, old New York buildings were retrofitted to have fire alarms by fire department. The only way to turn the fire alarm off was a J-shaped key. Anyone carrying these J-shaped keys became known as a Jake. The term likely rose to prominence with the film Chinatown, where a character repeatedly refers to police as Jakes. I mean, I've seen the movie. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard that ever. But again, I understand that I'm not the most New Yorker of all time. But just from my perspective, no. No, I don't know that one. However, I do know bacon, egg, and cheese. Pronounced as one word. Sometimes at a deli, they will actually even have the word bacon, egg, and cheese as one word. Like as a little joke. So that is very, very real. It's again a joke. So we're not exactly, we know it is bacon, egg, and cheese, but you just say it so fast. Let me get a bacon, egg, and cheese, salt, pepper, no ketchup. That was actually my breakfast this morning, so I'm very, very healthy. Pop into any bodega or stop by a halal cart and ask for a bacon, egg, and cheese. Well, not every halal cart, but New York City example. Look, you got to get a bacon, egg, and cheese from Nino's over on 17th. Potential origin, it's just a description of the bagel. Okay, so I don't really care for bacon, egg, and cheese on a bagel. Yeah, that is very helpful. This. My personal bacon, egg, and cheese is on a roll, or lately a toasted bialy. I'll tell you about that. A bialy is a type of bread roll in which the center is indented, traditionally covered with chopped onion, sprinkled with poppy seeds. Doesn't always have the chopped onion thing. But yeah, it's kind of like a smaller bagel kind of thing. It's good. It's really good. It's similar to a bagel, but it's like thinner and it's really I like it. Bialy, please. You want to see a bialy? That's a bialy. Except the bialys they do with the bacon, egg, and cheese don't have the onions in the middle. It's just like a little mini bagel kind of thing, and it's good. It's good toasted. But for me, the bagel is an overpowering kind of thing. It's just so doughy. I love bagels. They're very carby, but I like them a lot. But for me, a bagel, I like a ham and cheese on a bagel, and I like cream cheese on a bagel. But when it comes to bacon, egg, and cheese, I like it generally on a roll. That's my number one. Buggin, normally pronounced bugging, buggin. This means someone's overreacting. Why are you bugging out? It's a little spider. There are a few potential theories. One is that it comes from a carpenter bug, or it's possible it comes from bug to annoy. This is just a universal thing. You know what? We're going back to number scores. This is a fucking 3 out of 10. This is not a New York word. I I've heard this all over in the movies, in the TV, everywhere. I've never associated this simply and only with New York City. Come on. Schlep. Okay, schlep is a good one. Chad, do you know of the word schlep? To schlep something is to carry it. I see a lot of people that know it, a lot that don't. I thought it was a pretty common one, so it must be a New York thing, maybe, or more a New York thing. Yeah, if you're schlepping something, you're carrying. I moved the block so I don't bother hiring movers, but I totally should have. Schlepping all this furniture across Avenue J is such a pain in the butt. I like how all these examples are given like, they're like, check out, I know the streets. Avenue J. It comes from the Yiddish word schleppen, which means to pull. But yeah, I've heard schlep. Ock or Ocky. Okay, so the Ocky way. This became a bit of a meme. It refers to the person that makes sandwiches at their local bodega. Some will argue they must be Middle Eastern or Arabic descent to qualify as an Ock. Okay, listen. I have never heard this term used as anything other than a way to make a chopped cheese, or as the name of the guy who did that exact thing, who invented that method. Maybe this exists. I personally have never referred to someone working at a deli as an Ock. So, that's... Yeah, I just thought the guy's name was Ocky, because it's the Ocky way. A lot of people believe it's a reference to Rahim Mohammed, a famous New York City deli worker who makes sandwiches the Ocky way. It's an anglicization of the Arabic word Ocky, which means brother. This segment proves that Staten Island isn't really New York City. Well, hang on a minute. We got a whole fucking Staten Island section coming up. The city. For a New Yorker, this means Manhattan. This is very, very true. People outside of NYC still use the city to mean it as a whole, but if they're still on the East Coast. This is really, really true. Manhattan was developed and built out much earlier than the other 4 boroughs, so Queens, Staten Island, Brooklyn, and the Bronx all felt less urban than Manhattan back in the day. So people in New York, but specifically me growing up Staten Island, you want to go to the city tonight? Where are you going? The city. I'm going to the city. But those who aren't from, like, around here or, like, the other boroughs, they say Manhattan, like, more. They say that more, like, specifically. Whereas me growing up, everyone would say the city. So this is, like, for me, like a 9 out of 10 if I had to rate, because it is extremely common. And I've been in situations where I've confused people. They're like, the city? Where? Which city? Like, bodega. I guess that's a pretty good one, right? That's like a 10 out of 10, probably. Corner store. There's still some dispute over this, but most New Yorkers will require the corner store to have a deli be independently owned to qualify as a bodega, so 7-Eleven or CVS wouldn't count. They wouldn't in my mind. It's a Spanish word for storeroom or wine cellar. I didn't know that. Since NYC has a high Dominican and Puerto Rican population, it makes sense that New Yorkers would pick up this loan word. Fun fact, the word has been used in NYC since at least 1902. So this is kind of a bodega is great because there's also bodega cats. I'm sure you're aware of that. I personally call them just delis. A deli is usually a delicatessen where you get the meats, like the pastrami, the corned beef. Maybe you get some hot dogs. They got a butcher, some cheese. That's kind of the original, like Katz's delicatessen. However, colloquially, most people I know just say, I'm going to the deli. You need anything? And that's a place where it's a smaller little corner store. They have usually a counter where you could order said bacon, egg, and cheese. Usually, excuse me, you can get a sandwich. Not a sandwich, a sandwich. You could get an Arizona iced tea. You can get yourself a coffee, a regular coffee. The Ocky way. But so the term deli is more used in my life, but also bodega. That's pretty normal. I hear that a lot. I've said it. So Schlep it back home real Brolic like. Yeah, it's true. So yeah, that's a pretty big staple of New York City. Other slangs New Yorkers use. Let's see what this is. So this is all like speed round. Slang is always evolving. New York City is no exception. So here's some more popular slang terms that are newer to the Big Apple. Day room. Someone who is so quiet and vague that they're confusing. Are they demure as well? Never heard of that. But again, I'm not all of New York. I'm just some guy, some white dude from Staten Island. Maybe everyone's using day room. I don't know. Say less. Okay, to understand what someone said. Got it. Sure. I think of like Mike Myers as Linda Richmond for that one. Heard. To understand what someone said. It's the same thing as say less. All right. Sure. Old head. The fixture of a neighborhood and a community who's older. It's more of a Philly thing. Old head is not something I necessarily hear about. I might be an old head according to chat, but that's not a word I've heard a lot of, or a phrase. No cap, I'm serious. Okay, I thought no cap was a skibbity fucking Fortnite term. I didn't know that was a New York term. Seriously, I didn't know. A beverage, never heard that. Muddy, when you look gruff and unkempt, or unkept. No, haven't heard that. Link, to meet up. Doesn't sound like a New York exclusive or a New York originated. Maybe it was, but yeah, to link up. So we'll link up this summer and we'll talk about that job. You're basically yo or how are you? Okay, I think I've reached the limits of my abilities here in this segment. Because once again, I'm going to say, what do you mean you're? I've never been anywhere in New York City where someone's been like, you're? Bet. You didn't know that was a New York thing, but I have heard Justin Wang say it, and he's a New Yorker. So, you know, bet. I feel like that one's probably all over the goddamn place. You gotta start every stream with your. Frontin', heard that, but that's, again. If it's, okay, if these words are used in New York City, they're probably used everywhere. But sure, I've heard of this one. I've heard of lit. A whip is a car. I don't hear that as much anymore. That seems like a 70s thing. Pull up. That feels newer to me. I've heard that more recently than not. And yeah, that's fairly common. Son. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a story. I say the word son on the stream kind of as a joke once in a while, like I say dog. Because one of my best friends growing up. I remember he was like kind of just like a nerdy video game kid, right? And then I didn't see him for like an entire summer. Like we just kind of fell apart, or what's the word I'm looking for? Grew apart. We grew apart for a little while and had other friends. And like within like, I guess 4 or 5 months, he was saying son, non-ironically, and he was like recording like hip hop on like of his own raps on like cassette tape. And I'm like, huh? And so I started saying son, but I was very confused at first. Was he white? What does it matter? Yes. But no, he's a good dude. I love him. We still hang out once in a while. He's a great guy. But yeah, we definitely, we had this moment where we weren't hanging out for a bit. It was like we were playing Pokemon and then like collecting Pokemon cards, and then we didn't see each other for a while, and then he was saying like son, and it was just kind of funny. But I started saying it, and then I still do because of that. And that's why I say it on stream. It was supposed to be like a kind of an ironic thing, but now I say it. Yeah. It wasn't Mike, no. Let's see. I didn't know Mike until college. Cabbie, cab driver. Sure, that's a good one. That's a pretty common one. Cuz, short for cousin, but it could mean close acquaintance. Okay. A snack? Yeah, I've heard that one. Chillin'. That seems like everyone fucking says that. Strap hanger? An old term for a person who takes the train. Only old heads use that one. Stoop. I've heard stoop. I've heard that one. Stoop. Snip, snop. It's also Yiddish. Well, what if you schlep it to stoop it? But no one is saying that anymore, as far as I'm aware. I don't know, maybe. I'm not watching a lot of TV shows these days. Hero, a submarine sandwich. Yeah, so that's a good one to talk about. When I go to the bodega, or deli, whatever you want to call it, I usually get a sandwich on a roll, but you then have the option of a hero, which is just a long sandwich. It's sure a submarine or a hoagie. So, yeah. But that's another one of those things like soda and pop. You know, people say different things regionally here in the States. So here you go. That's a hero right there. There you go. I don't know. Zot was saying something about last week. He was like, when you watch Scooby-Doo, do you ever want Shaggy's sandwich? And this is what I think the Shaggy sandwich is. It's this. Look at that. Yeah, that's the good stuff. But it's, again, that's a big lunch. That'll knock you right out. So, good looks. Thank you, or I appreciate you. Good looking. I usually heard. That was also my friend growing up. He would say good looking. I learned that from him. So yeah, that's a pretty decent one from when I was younger. Ratchet. There's another word that usually goes after ratchet. So yeah, I've heard ratchet. Not sure what it has to do specifically with New York, but I'm sure New Yorkers use it. Yes, clank is the other word, chat. Definitely. It's ratchet and then clank. That's correct. Shook, emotionally unstable or upset. Yeah, sure. Okay. Book it, to run quickly and suddenly. Yep. Schwitz, to sweat a lot or to get a steam bath. I've heard that one too. Again, shook and book it just sound like stuff that everyone says. No doubt, I agree. That's slang. At this point, is no doubt even slang? L, a marijuana joint. This was definitely this was written by a fucking narc. This list was written by a narc. I'm cool. Yeah, I've heard L. That was, again, the friend I had, I grew up with. He would talk about the L's that he smoked. Drid. Never heard Drid before, ever. Never. Mac. Yeah, to mac it to someone. That seems like a pretty common one. Flip. To cancel plans. No. Not really. Borough specific. Okay, Manhattan slang. Here we go. The Village. Greenwich Village. Yeah. Yeah, the Village. But there's two villages. There's the East Village and the West Village. So if you say the Village, which one? That's the problem. So I guess you could just say the Village, right? Resident Evil Village, and then you'd be like, oh, right, the West Village. Bowery, famous street, neighborhood near Chinatown. That's literally what it's called, but okay. Fitty, shorthand for financial district. We just call that downtown. I don't know. I've never heard Fitty. Maybe someone does. But the Met, Metropolitan Museum of Art. I think they just call it the Met. The Museum Mile. Oh, that's news to me. I didn't know that was called that. A strip along 5th where all the major museums in NYC are located. Brooklyn slang. Oh boy, here we go. Brooklynite. That is, in fact, a very common one. So, yep. Brooklynite. That's a good one. The Beast, a famous Coney Island roller coaster. I don't know about the Beast as much as I know about the Cyclone. But, sure. The Boardwalk. Brighton Beach Boardwalk on Coney Island. Sure, okay. Guess you could just shorthand that. Bed-Stuy. Shorthand for Bedford-Stuyvesant. Yep. People do call it Bed-Stuy. It may actually be Bed-Stuy on the map. Let me check. Not that anyone needs to know this stuff, but I'm giving you all less. Yeah, it is. On Google Maps, it's just Bed-Stuy. So is that even slang anymore? I don't know. Slime. A friend. This one is interchangeable with dude. What do you mean? What up, my slime? Never heard that in my life. Again, I'm not... I have to once again repeat, I am not every New Yorker. But I'd be like, yo, what up, my slimes? And it's just this. I thought maybe slime would be something like slimy, like, or someone's grimy or something, but all right. Johnny Pump, an old term for a fire hydrant. Okay, sure. Didn't ever know that one before just now, but Johnny Pump. Yep. Shmaboyga. Shmaboyga? A slob. That's new to me. I love it. I love it. A tourist. Insulting term used to imply someone isn't from Brooklyn. Alright. The Bronx slang. Alright, so we got BX, short for Bronx, sure. Boogie Down Bronx, another term for Bronx. This one's based on KRS-One and his famous Boogie Down Productions outfit. They would regularly reference the Boogie Down Bronx. That's new to me. I guess I'm a tourist. The Concourse, Grand Concourse, major street in the Bronx. I don't know the Bronx. Brick, extremely cold. That I've heard. I didn't know that was a Bronx slang. What? No, this bricked up is a different slang, chat. Bricked up is a completely different slang. Brick is cold. I've also heard balls cold, which is a weird one, or balls hot. I don't know why adding the word balls to cold and then hot makes it even hotter or colder, but these are things I've heard. Flat lever, someone who leaves events randomly in the middle of the action. Okay. Butter, smooth or enjoyable. That's just, again, coffee talk with Linda Richmond, like butter. Queens slang. QNS shorthand for Queens, The Rock, Rockaway Beach. Really? I just say Rockaway Beach. Okay. Maybe that's real. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, well, to me that's Long Island, but I guess that's Queens, Rockaway Beach. Rockaway Beach. A neighborhood in Queens, New York. It is technically Queens, yeah. It's cool over there. The Iron Triangle, Willets Point neighborhood, popular street art destination. Okay. New to me. Din Darenth. That's the guy from The Mandalorian. And his ship, the Sutpin ship. A goofball or a loser in a popular commercial district along Sutphin Boulevard. Okay. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Whoa, we've got the longest section of slang yet. Here we go. Staten Island slang. I'll let you know about this, chat. If anyone has authority on any of this, it's me. I've lived on Staten Island for 40 years. So far, I've never heard The Rock. I've never heard anyone call it The Rock. That is tourist bullshit. So no, that's already a failure. Shaolin, I've heard a million times. This is a nickname for Staten Island as a whole, based on the Wu-Tang Clan's music. Yes, so Shaolin is definitely a common one here. The Forgotten Borough, that is definitely a nickname for Staten Island. One of the reasons is we are overlooked. That is true. And the reason Staten Island is overlooked is because the infrastructure here sucks for getting around. We have a lot of buses, but it is a very suburban place. We only have one train line. There's no connection to the other boroughs other than driving or taking a boat. Yes, a boat. So as a result, we are kind of forgotten. We also have the lowest population, I believe, of all the boroughs. The whole vibe is very different than the rest of the city. And it's just kind of, a lot of funding doesn't come to Staten Island. So forget about it. The boat, the Staten Island ferry, that is true. That is 100% true. We just call it the boat. I'm going to catch the boat. 6:30. What about Long Island Railroad? Doesn't connect. Someone said, I took the Staten Island ferry for the first time last month, and I enjoyed 5 minutes I spent in Staten Island before I turned around and got back on. So, check this out. They built a whole outlet mall at the Staten Island ferry terminal. It was a very, very long construction process. It was extremely annoying for a lot of us. They were gonna build this giant wheel too, like the London Eye, and that was an attempt for tourists from New York City, from Manhattan, who came into Staten Island to stop and buy some shit. However, no one does that, and as a result, the Empire Outlets area of Staten Island, half of the stores are completely empty. Just no one can hold a business there for too long. There's some businesses over there that do pretty well. There's a couple that do all right, but there's so much space over there for like business, but people just get off the ferry after they see the Statue of Liberty for free and then just go back on the ferry and leave Staten Island. It's also kind of inconvenient to see much of anything on the rest of Staten Island because they can have signs, they can show you where the buses are, but it's kind of confusing, and it's like a bit of a journey. So it's just not convenient. Yeah. So open the Vine Sauce merch stall. I think what they should do is they need more interesting shops than just like an Adidas or a Gap, in my opinion. But anyway, Doozy Pats. I was looking at that for a bit. I hate that word. I don't know what that is. I've never heard of it. Doozy Pats? What the fuck are you talking about? A skeeve? Anything disgusting? Skeevy? Yes, I've heard skeevy. That's a pretty popular one. I don't know if it's Staten Island exclusive, but it is something I've heard. Skeeve Palpatine, yeah. I'll add one. Skell. That's one that so few people know about outside of Staten Island. Even Staten Islanders don't know that one. But a skell, I've talked about on stream, is someone disreputable, perhaps. So, yeah. Skell. Yeah, from Xenoblade. Stunad, someone who isn't very smart. So that, I thought, was an Italian word. Turns out, it's fucking not. What it is it's a weird dialect of Italian that morphed. It's an Italian-American slang term to mean stupid. So my family would say it. Other families that I was growing up would say it. And yeah, it's derived from the Italian word stonato, meaning out of tune. So somehow that turned into stunad. And the rest is history. So that one is like for me, growing up, 10 out of 10. Mint or mink. I've not heard mink, but mint... In the 90s in particular, I remember my older cousin, not the club cousin, ever, would say, oh, that shit's mint. He said it for like 2 years and then stopped. So, yeah, mint condition, I think, turned into a thing where, you know, it's just the term people would use. She thinks who she is. Wait, that's slang? Chat, have you heard? She thinks who she is? No? A woman who is way too invested in herself despite her unremarkability. So, that's just an expression. I've heard a lot of that. Like, oh, she thinks who she is. Huh. No, I have heard that one. Usually older Italian women say that. I'm dead serious. Vinny, seriously, these are like 90% not from New York. Yeah, no, this list is trash, but, I guess New Yorkers also say them. I'm dead ass. She thinks who she is, I've heard, and I thought that was just something that everyone said. So, literally is figuratively, sure. Okay, again, not a Staten Island thing, that's just anywhere. Bangin' is really enjoyable, sure. Okay. Here's names for New York City, the Big Apple. The concrete jungle. Sure, that one, no one says that, but I've heard it. Big Apple's a big one, obviously. City that never sleeps, yes. Frank Sinatra said that one. Empire City, sure. Gotham? No. Maybe like once or twice, but I don't. Yeah, personally, that's a silly one. Gotham. The people of Gotham will freeze! The bat and bird will freeze! Love that movie. That's my favorite Batman movie. Capital of the World? No. Melting Pot? Sure. The city's so nice they named it twice. Never fucking heard that one. Expert Q&A. I guess that's it. Alright, so we've learned nothing here today, haven't we, chat? Isn't that cool? We learned about Broly. I don't really know why I did this segment, but I thought it would be fun to do something a little different. And, you know, why not? Kind of neat, I guess. I've learned the following, though. I've learned here a couple things. One, some of the slang terms that I heard growing up were so incredibly specific that no one has heard them. But that was only a little bit. Mostly, all of this shit was said by everybody. And any list that claims to have New York slang, it's not really going to all be New York slang, because that doesn't really apply. Aside from Forget About It, or Bacon, Egg, and Cheese, which is also just the name of a sandwich. Yeah, literally. Literally. Fuck out of here. Oh yeah, that's another one. Someone said, I'm going to New York in the fall. Where would you recommend to check out? Fuck out of here. I would recommend you check out the Met. You know what I'm saying? The ferry. Go to the ferry. What about dead ass? I like dead ass, but it's not specifically anything New York that I'm aware of. It's just anywhere. No, here's okay. To cap off the segment, New York would be a nice. If you're in New York, there's probably a lot of stuff. You can have a good time. You can go to the museums. There's a million great museums, natural history, Metropolitan, all good. You have. I'd recommend Sleep No More, but it closed down. You could Google immersive theater. Stay away from Times Square. You don't need to go there. You can go to the East Village, West Village. Chinatown's got some great food. Hell's Kitchen has great food. I would also recommend the American Dream Mall in Jersey if you want to feel really depressed. And, you could hop on one of the ferries just to take a boat ride. That's not a bad idea. Million great pizza places. I don't have to tell you what they are. You just look them up. There's a million of them. You're gonna find some good food. The High Line, that tongue creature, the foot tongue creature, that is on the High Line, including a giant pigeon. That's right. That's my friend. I'll show you. That's my friend. And also this giant pigeon. The High Line is very cool. High recommend. If you see me on it, though, just don't talk to me. Don't even make eye contact. Like, just look away. I look like this, by the way, so you probably won't even know what I look like. Is it even a real place? It's real, yes. No, I don't mind. If you see me, it's cool. I was actually, I got recognized at a comic book shop recently, so that was nice. They were chill. So, it's all good. But just remember, forget about it. Deadass. Don't look too long, because you might get burned. It's like looking at the sun. And then I'll schlep it down the block, and you won't even know I was there. My slime. That's right, my slime. Normally, chat, I would now be, I'd be taking a break, but we're moving quick tonight, so I'm going to add another game to the segment. We're moving quick. Here, take a look at this.
That's right.